Hello and welcome all the Web3 enthusiasts. This is Max speaking, and we're here with a new exciting podcast. So today our guest is Preston Van Loon, Ethereum core developer at Offchain Labs. Hi, Preston. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Likewise, thank you. So since it's your first time at Synopsis, could you please briefly introduce yourself and how you got involved in Web3 and the Ethereum ecosystem?
Sure. Yeah, I'm an Ethereum core developer. And my journey was that I found Ethereum in 2017. I feel like that's sort of the first like hype cycle where we saw ICOs and crypto kitties and these kind of like new cool emerging technologies that were seeing a lot of adoption. The big thing for me was I saw um, Ethereum as a concept proving itself and reaching its limits already. Folks that were around at the time would remember the pain of the gas costs when a single application was really dominating the demand for the chain. At the time, I was working at Google, and what brought me to Google is very similar. What brought me to Ethereum, I wanted to do something impactful. I wanted to have an impact on something that I felt was valuable and interesting and helped a lot of people. And that was calling to me at Ethereum. I said, all right, this is a really cool technology that's people are excited about and is really exciting. And there is an opportunity to improve it. Gas costs were crazy, and like obviously the demand was exceeding the capacity of the chain. So I said, well, I want to help. How do I help? Um, that's around the time when folks were discussing sharding for Ethereum as a way for scaling and also proof of stake as a means to secure the chain. So by the end of the year, I was convinced I wanted to do something. And Ethereum being an open community, they are really welcoming to anybody. You can be anyone at all with no credentials. You just say, I want to contribute. You start contributing and building. You can just build. So I met Raul Jordan online. We met in the chat room for the Go Ethereum client. Say, hey, who wants to? He was saying the same thing I was saying. Say, who wants to add sharding to the Go Ethereum client? And I said, yeah, I'm interested. I've been thinking about that. We met up in person and formed a team called Prismatic Labs. Started building I guess one of the first implementations of what became the Beacon chain. But we just started building and working with the research groups, working with DF um, and things escalated. We started to get grants, so we were getting some funding, and this is all like moonlighting, right? Like we're just working nights and weekends, and I was even waking up early to get more done before I went to work. I was just so excited about this, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the work at Google. I tried to get them on board, but they wouldn't. They weren't interested for whatever reason. And things kind of spiraled in a good way. By the end of 2018, we had secured enough grant funding that the team could leave their full-time jobs and start working full-time on Ethereum. A big thing that pushed us over the edge with that is on Twitter, we were discussing like what's taking so long. It's always the question like when when are we going to get this done? Why aren't the devs working faster? And we responded, well, we still have full-time jobs. Like grant funding is nice, but it's not enough to fund life. And Vitalik himself, he sent the famous YOLO grant. He sent our team's address 1,000 ETH, which was at trading at $100 at the time. So it was still a nominal amount, but it signaled to us that we could take this leap and that the community is not going to let us fail for monetary reasons. Like we have really wanted to do this. So we kept building. We launched a beacon chain that ran for a few years. And then did the merge with Ethereum mainnet. So we switched from proof of work to proof of stake. I think that was one of our biggest achievements, one of the biggest achievements in a blockchain space. Really significant feat achieved by not just our team, but I think 100 other people. Like it was a really monumental effort. And then we just continued scaling. We joined Offchain Labs in 2022, almost 3 years now. It's been 2.5 years at this time. And that's been an amazing experience. With Offchain, they are the builders of Arbitrum. Ethereum wants to scale, and L2s are the way to scale. We obviously scale the L1 as well, but there is no modern computer system that doesn't use horizontal scaling. So I still believe that L2s are the future, and really doubling down on that with this, teamwork with the Offchain Labs folks. And that's where we are today. We're still shipping and bringing great changes to Ethereum.
Awesome. Thank you for this introduction. And I like how your motivation raised from asking yourself like fundamental questions of how I can contribute, how I can do this, how can we improve this. And that's a very nice point. And you also mentioned the merge as one of the key points so far for the Ethereum. And actually, this is where my next question is coming from. So it might seem weird or easy for anyone, but actually, everyone knew the merge in 2022 because of the proof of stake switch, actually. And then I believe that if not everyone, but many people get lost in other merges. So could you tell us what is happening with Ethereum Tech right now? So you said we're still shipping. So could you add more on this?
Yeah, so since the merge, we've introduced a new data availability layer. And in Ethereum world, we call these blobs. They're blobs of data. Anything you want can be posted to Ethereum. And the intention is that we want to support applications like L2s to be able to post data and also not compete with the L1 activity that's still happening on chain. So the way that L2s were doing this before is they were consuming block space, posting through call data, and this was still driving up gas cost. The idea with Ethereum is Ethereum is for everybody, so we want to make it accessible and sustainable and cheap to use. So we have this data availability layer that we've created with blobs, and the real effort right now is doubling down on that. So increasing the capacity of blobs we can have per block. The upgrade we're working on right now is called PECTRA. This is just a few weeks away from going to mainnet. I think 3 weeks at the time of recording. It'll be on May 7th. So this will add a number of features, but the one that's on this train of thought is we're going to be increasing the number of blobs that are available per block.
Awesome. So actually, the upcoming PECTRA update is the major part of our discussion will be devoted to it. And so could you please tell more about what makes this particular upgrade significant for the Ethereum ecosystem in general, and why should users be excited about it?
Yeah, so let's dive into the different aspects of this upgrade. The first one I want to discuss is the improvement to a validator experience. So something we've been refining over time are some of the trade-offs that we made initially were to have a simpler protocol. We made things a little bit rigid. So the big one that's coming forward is that to be an Ethereum validator, you need 32 ETH. That's like the minimum to stake, to have a vote on the chain. And out of convenience for the protocol's complexity, that was also the maximum you can have to be a validator as well. So if you had 40 ETH, well, you can only have one validator and you needed to earn enough or acquire more ETH to have more weight on the chain. So the big problem people were seeing, especially like solo stakers, is like you are earning capital, but that capital is not compounding. It's only the first 32 ETH that you're making that's earning interest. It gets swept away. And then you also have operators that say, oh, I want to run 5 validators or 10 or hundreds, and each of those validators would take one slot or take one seat at the table to make the vote, even though it was operated perhaps by the same operator. So now we have these idea where we can increase the maximum effective balance. You still need 32 ETH to have a seat at the table, but now you can have up to 2048 ETH at that seat. And so you can now, as a validator, you still cast one vote at a time. You send one message, but that message has more weight. So there's two takeaways from that is that now you're earning compounding interest above 32 ETH, and there's a protocol improvement on networking bandwidth. We don't know exactly how significant that part is, but we do want to see a lot of consolidations of validators. People say instead of running 100, or not 100, but maybe instead of running 10, I'll run one. And instead of sending 10 messages, they'll send one. And you'll see a lot better network performance because there are just less messages floating around with the same level of security and the same effective validator weight within the protocol.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
Sure. I was going to switch to another feature of this upgrade, unless you wanted to dive more onto that aspect.
Okay. Actually, this part is pretty clear, and yeah. So finally, even not being some technical person, to be honest, I see the difference at least, even in comparison with other updates. And could you also please explain how the PECTRA upgrade specifically addresses user experience challenges and like scalability and transaction fees?
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot more to discuss here. And one more thing I wanted to touch on, the validator experience is we started the switch to proof of stake by creating a separate beacon chain alongside the mainnet, and then they merged together. There are still a few cleanup items there where if you wanted to perform some action as a validator, you have to send it to the beacon chain. And that doesn't really work well with a lot of setups like liquid staking, these staking protocols, or even having a trustless staking provider, somebody to run the validator for you for a nominal fee. But you don't want to don't want to give them too much power there. Now we have these abilities to trigger actions on behalf of the validator from the execution layer, from the Ethereum mainnet. So the example would be, I want to exit my validator, and I can do that with the withdrawal credentials, with the account that receives the funds. So taking a step back, you have a hotkey and a cold wallet, and the hotkey is the one that does all the validating, and your cold wallet can say, all right, it's time to shut down this hot one, and I want to exit everything. That's a new kind of functionality that we have. Gives stakers a lot more autonomy and control over what's happening in the beacon chain. As far as end users, like when you say user experience, I'm sure that most folks out there are thinking about I'm not a staker, but how does it affect me? So a cool feature that's coming into PECTRA is a big improvement in building blocks of account abstraction. So we have this EIP, which is 7702. And what 7702 does is it allows regular accounts, which I'll refer to as an externally owned account, an EOA. It allows for an EOA to deploy code to that address, so it can behave kind of like a smart contract, but still is an EOA. And the benefit of that is that you can deploy code there such that another party or another application can make actions on your behalf. So that's the benefit of account abstraction, where you could say, I want to opt into this wallet that will allow me to pay gas in US dollars, or pay the gas for me, or have some kind of automated recovery, so sort of like behave like a smart contract vault. There are a lot of possibilities you can do with account abstraction, and it really is um, a really nice improvement to the user experience, where wallet implementations can really take that and build more flexible and interesting and innovative solutions for end users. My hope is that with this functionality, we'll see a lot better user experience for normal people. I think blockchains and Ethereum as well are still working towards having this user experience that feels a lot more Web 2, but has the benefits and capabilities of Web 3. With account abstraction, we can get a lot closer to that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So maybe I should have paid more attention to the previous updates, but maybe this one, PECTRA, is really some kind of game changer, or at least a major thing. So maybe we should invite you, Preston, to discuss every upcoming update on Ethereum. So let's see. But the things you say sounds all cool, and what's more, sound absolutely clear. So thanks for that. And yeah, moving on to the next thing. So everyone is always, I think, curious about the participation and the interest of institutionals. So, and we're seeing right now that the institutional interest in Ethereum is increasing. So, could you please tell us, how does PECTRA upgrade influence this institutional adoption? Sorry.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think institutions are looking for blockchain to adopt blockchains because of the benefits you get, which are you have data availability, so you have a chain that's online all the time. You have the security of the blockchain, and in Ethereum's case, that's the proof of stake that we have here. It's very difficult or impossible to manipulate the chain in any way. That's really a great benefit to proof of stake over proof of work, where proof of work can have long reorgs. With proof of stake, you have finality. So there's a really great improvement there for institutions. And lastly is the cost of doing this. So with PECTRA increasing the number of blobs that will be available for the chain, we can see more adoption of chains that are building on the layer one. That can be something like launching your own L2 or app chain, or doubling down on existing L2s, or or just you're posting your call data, or you're not your call data, your chain data to the DA layer. Could even be used for private chains. You could say we want to have a private blockchain with a root of trust somewhere in Ethereum. They could still be posting blobs to Ethereum, and that can power a private chain. So we could even see like inter-institutional chains that benefit from Ethereum. Really, I think as far as like PECTRA is concerned, for institutions, it's about increasing blob throughput, improving UX, and continuing to scale the blockchain.
Awesome. And we're talking a lot about scalability, and the next question for you, as for a representative of Offchain Labs, the team behind Arbitrum. So do you think when will we have fully decentralized large-scale layer 2 solutions with no training wheels actually. And will Arbitrum be the first one to do so?
I think that this is coming soon. I don't know about a concrete timeline. I know that Arbitrum in particular is working on this, and I feel like they're at the forefront of these efforts. So the training wheels that we have had historically, well, in the case of Arbitrum, the training wheels they had were very minimal, right? They've always had fraud-proof abilities. So the ability to do challenges on chain and to hold the sequencer to account. That's always been there. Uh, the trading wheels that Arbitrum had were that doing the challenges on chain were a permission set of, we'll call them validators. It's different from Ethereum validators, but there were Arbitrum validators that were validating that the sequencer's output is correct. And if it were ever incorrect on chain, they would issue a challenge and it could be proven on chain what the actual outcome was. Now, with the bold upgrade, they're opening the door for validators to say anybody can be a validator and anybody can make these challenges. That's a really big improvement for decentralization, saying, yes, the sequencer is the one producing these proofs, and now anybody is going to be able to hold them accountable, not just this permission to set of validators, but anyone with the willingness and the collateral to put up can hold the chain to account. So that's a big effort there. I think the last thing that people are looking for is decentralizing the sequencer, saying instead of having one sequencer that runs everything, can we make it in a way that there's some kind of like distribution there where other sequencers are involved, or just having even closer decentralization. As far as I know, I recall there being a announcement from Offchain Labs that I believe it was in 2026, it might be 2027. They expressed the intention to move to the next level of fully decentralizing the rollup chain. I think it's like a stage 2 rollup is the terminology. So I think that as far as Arbitrum is concerned at Offchain Labs, they're definitely working on this and leading the way. I expect they would be first. I think there's some healthy competition out there as well. A lot of people are doing a lot of great things. However, Arbitrum is really taking this to heart and putting a lot of resources on this and really making sure that that vision of a decentralized scaling solution for Ethereum will manifest without the training wheels.
Okay, awesome. So looking forward for the bright times to come. And thanks for this detailed explanation. And one more thing to discuss about PECTRA, probably the last one for today, at least from my side. So how does PECTRA enhance cross-chain capabilities and the movement of assets between Ethereum and layer 2 networks? What impact will this have on interoperability?
Good question. We think as a core developer, I've been thinking very often about interoperability and composability within the L2 layer. My goal or my hope is that soon we have this technology where L2s feel like a homogeneous layer of Ethereum. In terms of how does PECTRA improve that? Well, this fork doesn't have anything specifically moving towards that effort. However, in general, it is scaling Ethereum, and with that scaling, we can see more L2s coming on board, or just more adoption, or rather existing L2s having more capability to go faster, to move more quickly. Arbitrum already has like 250 millisecond block times. They could lower that even further. In fact, we saw an announcement with BlackRock's Converge chain, which is an Arbitrum chain. They're targeting 100 millisecond blocks. Initially, they could be going to 50 millisecond blocks. Improvements like that can happen on Ethereum. So chains that are posting blobs to Ethereum could be doing so more frequently or at a higher rate with this increased throughput capability with the increased number of blobs per block coming in PECTRA and future upgrades as well. Like Ethereum is really doubling down on increasing the number of blob space that's available.
Awesome. So PECTRA is a really big thing, and I cannot but include it into the next question, which is actually
Sure.
About regulation. So this one will be the last thing about it for the day from me. So what are your thoughts on regulatory developments for layer 2 solutions and DeFi? And how might PECTRA's improvement influence the regulatory landscape?
Yeah, on the regulation side, I'll admit getting a little bit out of my realm as a core developer. However, I can tell you what I've observed in recent time. I think on the regulatory side, we, well, as a core developer and a Ethereum community member, I welcome healthy and clear regulation. We want to understand the rules and we want to collaborate with the rule makers, the regulatory bodies to have sensible regulation. I think that some people out there are like don't want regulation, but that's not the way. Like the way is to work together and to have meaningful rules that make sense. And the trend I've seen recently is people are feeling more favorable on regulatory action, or not regulatory action, but on the regulatory movements that have been happening. Like it's seemed to be more constructive rather than destructive since the administration shift within the US at least. So I remain hopeful that we can come through to have some sensible rules and have things make sense. As far as PECTRA is concerned, this is, I think, one of Ethereum's largest forks of all time, like maybe the largest fork in terms of the number of things that are added. I don't know how this will affect the regulatory output, but I do remain bullish on this. Scaling efforts will increase the number of eyes that are on it and the number of people looking at it, and therefore, it will receive the proper attention that it needs for regulatory folks to make the decisions they need to make.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's hard to disagree with anything you just said. So I also feel that the attitude towards regulations is changing, because it's really hard to imagine institutionals getting on board without not even maybe clear, but at least, as you called it, healthy regulation. So yeah, totally agree on this. And this kind of a positive part, positive energy, we came up to the last traditional conclusion of our podcast. So could you please, Preston, share some piece of advice with our audience? It should not be some kind of financial advice, just some call to action, maybe some ideas what to keep an eye on. So please go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a developer out there and my journey resonated with you, I think you'll find that Ethereum in particular is extremely welcoming. You don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have a resume or CV or any kind of credentials. If you are smart and determined and you want to build cool things, this is a space to do that. Even if you want to tackle some of the hardest problems and therefore most interesting problems in computer science, Ethereum and Web3 is the place to be. If you're a user of Ethereum, you're on the edge of innovation. We're seeing some of the coolest and exciting technology come forward in real time. I think it's an amazing thing to see and to be a part of. And what you can do with that is provide feedback and if even though you're not a developer, perhaps you can provide feedback to core devs, to other builders, and say, this is where my friction points are, and this is where I think we should make change. And you can really be the voice of change within Ethereum. It's moving so quickly, and everyone has the power to influence it. So I encourage you to reach out to folks and to be a part of this really exciting technology.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sounds uh, extremely amazing. And what I'd like to say, so thank you very much for telling us such insightful things about Ethereum without actually blowing up my mind. As I said, I'm not kind of technical person, but I think I represent the average viewer of Synopsis, and I believe that today's discussion was super interesting for everyone. So thank you once again, and hope to see you, Preston, in more episodes. And what today?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. And of course, thanks for our audience for watching us till the end, guys. Stay tuned. Keep an eye on the upcoming podcasts, and always do your research and don't be afraid of diving deeper into Ethereum. So thanks for everyone. Have a great day, night, whatever is in your regions. See you